Hey, happy afternoon, you guys. I wanted to pop in. It is recipe creation day today, and I just finished up making an instant pot cream of mushroom soup, and I'm about to make another version of it that's dairy free, and I'm making it for my family because, of course, we're dairy free, and I'm making tater tot hot dish later on this week. And so I thought you guys might know with me. Hold tight. I'm gonna shut with the Wi-Fi, and we're gonna use my because that'll hopefully get us some better coverage. There. Hopefully we won't have any problems. Okay, so anyways, I'm making dairy-free cream of mushroom soup. I use this instead of the can. It's very, very easy to make so that it's ready to go. So what I have in this pan right now is this is the dairy-free version. So usually I use butter if I'm making the regular version. But this has olive oil, just a couple tablespoons. And I'm going to pop in, usually it's going to be about a half to a quarter cup of onion, but my son does not like onion. And he swears he can taste it even if it's blended. I have my doubts, but I'm still only going to put in a little bit of onion. And I'm going to get this sauteing, and then I'm going to add in some potatoes. I put potatoes in my mushroom soup because it adds a thickness to it without having to add all that extra flour or cornstarch, because I'm gluten-free, and so this is a really nice way to get some thickness without having to use some sort of a thickener. So a cup of diced potatoes, and then this is important, we're putting in a tablespoon of fresh thyme. You can use dried thyme if you don't have dried thyme, but I would not skip the thyme if you can help it, because it's a really nice earthy flavor to it, and it's really special. If you don't have it, you don't have it, but try to have it. Then, secret ingredient to proper cream of mushroom soup is Worcestershire sauce. Another thing you could use is liquid smoke, but liquid smoke can get away from you really fast and taste like fake. So I'm going to put in about a teaspoon or so of Worcestershire sauce in here. And then I'm going to let this saute up. Just going to let that saute for like 4 or 5 minutes so that those onions get nice and soft. We want the potatoes to get soft as well. How are you guys today? I've been cooking today. Let me show you what I made. I have multiple bags of cream of mushroom soup today. So I store them like this. Actually, if you can see, they're right now they're kind of chilling out. I store them flat like this so that I can put them in the freezer and stack them, and then they don't take up so much room. But 2 of these bags is about equal to a can of mushroom soup that has been, you know how you have to add liquid to the big old thing? That's about 2 of these. So I get about 4 cans of soup out of this recipe. So, hi Carlina, hi Mary from Shannon, Ireland. Wow. So I'm just going to saute this up. You should smell it in here, you guys. The combination of Worcestershire sauce and thyme smells amazing. Okay, so we're just going to let that saute for just a couple more minutes, and then I'm going to add in broth. So you could use beef broth, you could use mushroom broth. I'm going to use vegetable broth. I tend to keep vegetable broth on hand all the time. But a beef broth, if you love beef broth, a beef broth would be really, really nice in here. Hi, Alta. Nice to see you, hear you, see your name. I don't know how you do that. Hi, Prince. Nice to see you. So I have been busy updating my furniture. So I have you guys ever chalk painted fabric? I mentioned this last week, and I think there was a misunderstanding that I was chalk painting furniture. But I was chalk painting the fabric, so that I am recovering in a sense, some new furniture. So it's been an interesting, kind of fun process. Hi Tammy, Prince, I am making homemade dairy-free mushroom soup so that you can ditch the can and have non-processed mushroom soup without all the salt and nothing but good stuff, because that's the best kind. All right, so we're gonna add in our mushrooms. So tell me what you guys are doing this week. I have 4 days of recipe development this week. Yesterday, I made cat treats yesterday for our local humane society. So I was doing that yesterday. So my hands, oh man, I was making little tuna treats for the cats, and so my hands smelled like tuna for like the whole day. But I imagine the little kitty cats will like that. And then, let's see, today is cream mushroom soup. Tomorrow I'm making homemade pot stickers. Have you guys ever made homemade pot stickers? Doing that tomorrow. So it's been a lot of creating. And then my son's birthday, he turned 17 on Thursday. My daughter turned 22 on Sunday. So we've been just doing all the birthday parties. All the birthday stuff, I should say. They're kind of getting old for birthdays. But, okay, so mushrooms. Colleen, I have a doctor's appointment. I'm saving this so you can watch it later. I adore your show. Aw, thank you. Colleen, good luck at the doctor's appointment. Hopefully it's all good things. Dairy. Mushroom soup. Oh, thanks for making mushroom soup with all the dairy, but I'm going to. Yeah! Okay, so mushroom soup. When I make mushroom soup for using in place of the canned version, I just use your traditional mushrooms you get at the store that are really inexpensive. Sometimes I make this recipe with fancy mushrooms and I don't blend it, and we have it for supper, because this soup with some crusty bread is amazing. It is so good. But when I'm going to make it for using it instead of a canned version, then I use the cheap mushrooms and I process this down to make it that nice, you know, thick, creamy texture you would get in a casserole. Pot stickers, you love pot stickers. We do too, and I have gotten pretty dang good at making them. Although I've been practicing so that I could get it right for this particular recipe that I'm working on. So we grind our own pork, well, we grind all of our own meat. But we, particularly, I was grinding pork so that I could use it in pot stickers. And it's so yummy. Okay, so, let me see. I'm going to bring you guys over so you can see what these look like. You see that? Nice and yellow. Now here's the trick. If you like really deep mushroom flavor, then we're going to put these mushrooms in, and you want to let them sit a really long time. Really just kind of keep sauteing those and letting them saute down. If you don't care and you like mushrooms but you don't like lots of mushroom flavor, then we're going to saute. We're just going to saute them until they sweat. So you guys know what that term means when you saute till they sweat? That means that you see a little bit of liquid coming off of them. And so it's usually, I lost a mushroom. It's usually only a couple minutes for mushrooms. Some of the other vegetables that sweat might take a little bit longer. The other thing with mushrooms is that you want to wipe off mushrooms, but you don't want to necessarily wash mushrooms. Did you know that? A little bit more wiping off. So these ones I got from the local co-op. It's so cool to go down to my local co-op and get like foraged mushrooms. But they had a little more dirt than I think my soup actually needs. I mean, we don't need that much fiber in our diets, I don't think. So I'm just gonna cut these into big chunks. The whole thing's gonna get immersion blender. If you don't have an immersion blender, you could use a food processor, you could use a blender, or you could just use a mashed potato smoosher. Potato masher. There we go. And get it as good as you can. And that's still okay. It doesn't have to be super well done. It just depends on your use for your mushroom soup. This is going to be because I'm making. Shh. My son does not watch this show. I talk like it's a show. My son does not watch these. His birthday is on Thursday, and I told him that if he did not tell me what he wanted to do for his birthday and get together with his friends and figure it out, that I was going to plan it. So I was threatening him, and threatening him, and threatening him. And wouldn't you know that he didn't pick anything. And so I am planning his birthday, and I'm doing a Minecraft birthday. So he's 17 years old, and I am purposely picking a birthday party that is like for a 6-year-old. And I am having so much fun. So I sent out to his friends, this is a surprise, to his friends, I sent out Minecraft invitations. And I am making tater tot casserole with little green tater tots to look like, if you guys know anything about Minecraft, they have like these little green building blocks to look like the building blocks. And where did I put the broth? Here's the broth. Okay, hang on just a second, I'll finish telling you this. This is all sauteed down. These mushrooms are sweating. And so now I'm going to put this broth, all of this, so it's 4 cups, is all going into this pan. And I'm going to put just a little bit in at first so that I can scrape the bottom of the pan because everything kind of sticks. We want just a little bit in first. Just so that you hear that. So I can start to pull some of this up off of the bottom because that is some good stuff. Don't ever leave that there. You need that in your dishes because that's like flavor right there. That's kind of like the corner piece. If you're a person that likes the corner piece or the piece that has the most frosting, that's what you need. Minecraft. Yes, Carlina, Minecraft. Okay, so now I'm going to put the rest of this in here. I'm going to cover it and I'm going to let it go for 5-10 minutes, just until the potatoes are soft. And then I'll tell you about the Minecraft in just a sec. Okay, let me see. Where did I put my... This kitchen's a disaster because I've been doing so many recipes today. Just a disaster. Okay, so I'm gonna let this simmer for about 5-10 minutes, just until those potatoes are soft and everything's kind of blended together. So not very long at all. Okay, so anyways, I was telling you about Minecraft. So he is 17, and of course, Minecraft party is like a little bit childish. Now, you guys don't know my son, but my son is big personality. He likes to be silly, and he is going to love that I'm doing basically a child's party. So I'm like having so much fun because I'm kind of reliving his boy days. So I got a pin the tail on the donkey, but it's a pin the pig on the Minecraft or something. I got a whole bunch of balloons. I'm doing those juice boxes that look like creepers. You guys will have to look up where creepers are, so you know what I'm talking about. I'm doing, I'm doing like all the little cupcakes, and then I'm gonna go and order a cake from like Walmart. Like, I'm not making the cake. I'm gonna like order a cake, a Minecraft cake that's like, you know, a big one, and get matching ice cream. I'm so excited, oddly excited. And yesterday I went on Amazon and ordered one of those matching sets of paper goods. So there's Minecraft plates and Minecraft glasses. And then I want to make party favors, like a little bag of party favors for these 17-year-old kids. So any of you guys that have small children and you've done Minecraft, if you know of any cool ideas, send them to me. Anyways, the whole point of all of this was because I'm making tater tot hot dish, because it looks like those little tater tots look like building blocks. I'm going to dye them green. I'm not sure how. I think I have to use food coloring. That is so against my religion. Not really my religion, but you know what I mean. But I don't know any other way to dye them green. And they're going to have toxic tater tot hot dish. How many of you guys know a tater tot hot dish? Please tell me you do. And tell me, do you call it hot dish or do you call it casserole? Here in Minnesota, it is hot dish 100%. And it is at every single potluck. Which, I haven't been to a potluck in like, a few years. It's been a long time since I've been to a potluck. I need to host one. Okay, so anyways, I was telling you guys, I painted that fabric. So I have about 2 armchairs. One of the armchairs, so you know how you go to the thrift store or you go to a garage sale and they have really, really solid pieces of furniture that are really clean, but they're old and ugly. I found one of those pieces. It's an Ethan Allen armchair, and I am painting it, and it is turning out fantastic so far. So it's not hard because I use chalk paint, and if you're not familiar with chalk paint is not chalkboard paint. Chalk paint is a different kind of formula. It's a different texture, and you don't have to prime, and you don't have to sand, and it paints on metal, it paints on plastic, it paints on everything. It is expensive, but it goes a very long way. And so that particular paint goes on fabric. But the only trick is that you have to sand in between each coat, and then you have to use a wax afterwards in order for it to feel soft. Otherwise, it feels a lot like outdoor furniture, which you don't want that in your house because that feels weird. So anyways, if you're not following me on Instagram, go over on Instagram because I'm kind of showing my living room and asking for advice. And pretty soon I'm going to be doing that tutorial on how to paint fabric, and you don't want to miss that. So Ms. Nellie Belly, MIZNELLIEBELLIE. But if you look up Nellie Belly, you'll find me. Anyways, go over there. What else? Oh my gosh, you guys. The other thing that happened this weekend. So many of you guys know that my husband was sick. Very, very sick. This time last year, he got out of the hospital. And he'd been in the hospital off and on for like 3 months. And it was really, really bad. And so Saturday, we ended up back in the ER because he went and stuck his, probably what he doesn't want me to tell you. He did something stupid. I'm not going to tell you what he did because he won't like that. But he did something stupid, and all he did was he kind of like broke the very end of his finger and like messed up his nail bed, and like they had to like do stuff, and he's got it all wrapped up. It really wasn't that big a deal. But you guys, for the first, I've never really had a nightmare. Like I've had nightmares from watching scary movies, but not really like a nightmare. And that night, it must have been because we were back at the ER, the same ER we had been in many times before. In fact, I went and tried to walk into the one room that we had had a big incident in and realized I was in the wrong spot. And that night I had a nightmare, guys. So I've been trying to be good to myself the last couple days because I don't know that I processed all that as well as I thought I had. So the darn dude has to keep on having his finger wrapped, I swear. And then he was moving a chair, helping us move a chair, and he hit his other hand, and then he hit his foot. So we're going to wrap him in bubble wrap. That's what's going to happen. So that's all I got. Casserole. Carlina, yes, casserole. But here we call it hot dish. That's just the way it is in Minnesota. We call it hot dish, and it's tater tots, and it's amazing. So one of the great things about this soup is that you can control the salt and pepper. Of course, most of us like it a little bit saltier because that's what we're used to when you have canned soup. And most all of us have been raised in one fashion or another on canned soup because I don't even know how many people that have had homemade food. What would you use cream of mushroom soup for? What would your mom use cream of mushrooms? What would she... Anyways, point being, you have a lot more salt than you probably should have. But you can still control it. The other thing I want to show you is we are going to be using cashew milk. I mentioned this last time we were talking about dairy-free. We're using cashew milk. I had someone tell me about almond milk and spraying the bees, that it hurts the bees. And I imagine cashew milk does something too. It's just a battle, isn't it? To find one thing that's going to help something, but then it turns out to have another disadvantage. So if you know of a reason that I should not be using cashew milk, please tell me, but I can't guarantee it's going to make me stop. But cashew milk is wonderful for these kinds of dishes it has this very nutty flavor, and it's very creamy in comparison to almond milk. Let me show you here real quick. It is not particularly great for drinking. And if you have children that are used to almond milk for their cereal and things like that, they're not going to like cashew milk because cashew milk, I'm going to show you. Cashew milk is much thicker. It also has that nutty flavor, and it's not particularly wonderful. But for cooking, particularly anything that has like a beef flavor profile, cashew milk is amazing. Now, you can make your own cashew milk very, very easily with some cashews and water in a processor. And just add water until you get it to the thickness that you'd like it to be. Did you know that? It's actually a very simple thing to do. It's just that, it's time consuming. A lot of people don't. I certainly don't want to take the time. But it's not hard to do. And when you use cashew, it's called cashew cream. So the more water you add, the more you go from cashew cream to cashew milk. Same thing as traditional milk. The more water liquid you add, the more it goes to from cream to milk. That cashew cream, the thicker part of it, is amazing for like mimicking cheeses and sauces. It's amazing for that. So if you're dairy free, give that a try. See if you like that for like on top of mashed potatoes. Instead of using some sort of a gravy, try that cashew cream. You might really like it, and it's good for you and dairy free. All right, I'm gonna try these potatoes and see if they're cooked. And if they're cooked, we're good to go. I diced them up fairly small. Another trick, you guys. I'm just full of tricks today. Dang, I'm on fire. Perfect. Is frozen hash browns. Anytime you're using something that's going to be blended up, any sort of potato, go ahead and pop in frozen hash browns instead of dicing up a potato. I have them in the freezer. I should have grabbed them here, but I just wasn't thinking. But I use frozen hash browns a lot. Okay, so now we need we need a cup of cashew milk. I'm just guesstimating because I've made this so many times, but a cup of cashew milk. We're going to go with about right there. And then we need a couple tablespoons of flour because we're going to create a slurry to thicken this up, okay? I have such a mess, you guys. It's a good thing you can only see this tiny little piece in my kitchen because otherwise I would be so embarrassed right now. All right, so here's the trick. You want to start with about 3 tablespoons. You may need to add more, and if you do have to add more, you just add more liquid and make a slurry. Because if you don't make a slurry, actually, I mean, it's okay if you're using a blender that if the flour bits will get blended, but it's always good practice to use to make a slurry so you don't end up with little chunks of flour. If you're gluten-free, completely gluten-free, then you could use a tapioca flour or something like that. Cornstarch, if you're able to use cornstarch, would be a good alternative. And I know a lot of people prefer cornstarch for their thickening. I don't know why, but I always use flour. I didn't grow up with the parents that cooked, and I didn't really know about cornstarch. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't know about cornstarch for a long time. Because what else do you use cornstarch for other than thickening, you know? Okay, so this is boiling up in this pot. This is boiling. I'm gonna add this to the boiling bits and kind of do this little stir bit. Let it cook in. And I want to see if it's got a good thickness to it, and if it doesn't, I'll add a little bit more in. And then around this point is when you want to taste it and add salt and pepper if you decide you want to add more salt and pepper. I often don't add any more salt and pepper when I'm using this in replacement of the canned version because I always can add salt and pepper to that dish instead. So if this were going to be like served as a soup, I would be adding salt and pepper. But because it's not going to be, I will often not add the salt and pepper to it. Okay. Ow. I splashed myself and it was hot and it hurt. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit more slurry because that is not quite as thick as I would like. I like it to be, I don't want it to be as thick as the condensed version is because obviously that version hasn't had any liquid added to it. And you're going to add liquid to it to get your little bit. But I do like it to be a little bit thick because I use this for casseroles fairly often. Hot dishes, thank you very much. And I don't want it to like thin out my casserole. I had somebody email me, one of you guys, about you were making the clam chowder for like the 3rd time in a week. I was like, wow, you guys are really into that clam chowder. Maybe you guys have made a clam chowder on my site. If you have not done that, you should go do that. It's amazing. It's an old recipe that's been around for a really long time, but super yum. All right, I'm gonna bring you over and show you what this looks like. This is not very light in color because, of course, we didn't use We didn't use very much of the normal almond milk dairy that you would normally use. It's just broth and cashew milk, which is darker in color. So it's very, very dark in comparison to what you would normally get. I lied. I'm adding a little bit of salt. I just have to. Okay, so now I'm going to shut this off. One of the things you could do is if you want to pop this flavor up just a little bit, you could add a little bit of vinegar in this. It helps to create a little bit more of a buttery texture that you aren't going to get because there's no butter in here and because you're not using a dairy product. A little bit of vinegar can help with that. So just like a teaspoon and a half of like a white vinegar would be super yummy in here. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get out my immersion blender and I'm going to blend this, okay? Because I want to create that. Why am I dark all of a sudden? I want to make it just like if I were to make a cream soup. And so it's going to be blended. If you don't have an immersion blender, you need an immersion blender. They're amazing. I use this thing for everything. All the time. You guys see me all the time using this. Except that when I first started, it always scares me. And then it gets caught with mushrooms. Leave a little bit of bits of mushroom left in there because that feels more like what you would get from the can. But not too many. There's a big chunk of mushroom stuck there. All right, good enough. Good enough. All right, so now let me show you how you're going to store it. My house is falling apart. I got so much. Okay, so how you're going to store this. You can put this into a couple jars. Again, this is equal to about 4 to 6 cans of soup without any liquid. Okay, so when you make use canned soup, usually it's a can of soup and a can of liquid that you put together. But when you're doing a recipe, this is where it gets a little tricky. When you're doing a recipe like a tater tot casserole, hot dish, you often are going to be asked to put in a can of soup, and then you're going to be asked to put in some other kind of liquid because it's mimicking that mixture. So it's going to be potato tot hot dish, probably like a cup of milk and a can of soup. Well, in this case, you want to replace that can of milk and that cup of soup and that, guys, you want to replace the can of soup, there we go, and the cup of milk with this soup. So it would be 2 cups of this soup. I hope that makes sense. Everybody got that? Okay, let me show you how you would store this. Okay, I got 2 ways that I store this. I store it in one of these big bags. This is equal to 2 cups. So this is exactly what I would use for a tater tot hot dish. And it's in a big bag. I need to get the one that's between these 2. I don't have it. And then I store it flat. And I put it in the freezer on a cookie sheet. Actually, I'll be putting it on my porch first because Minnesota. And I store it flat so that I can run them like this, almost like magazines in a row. Okay? And let me show you guys. Where did I put it? Here it is. Have you guys seen these before? Have I shown you this? This little guy, you hook these like this, and then on the other side so that you can pour soup in. These guys are a lifesaver, and it goes from the small to the big. And I use these a lot. And then this guy, I use the small ones. This is equal to 1 can of soup. And so sometimes when I'm having a recipe, because there's only 2 of us at home, I'll pull out one of these. So I have a couple of these in the freezer, and then I have one of the big ones. Okay, so that's it. And then if you want to, first of all, these will store in the freezer for up to 3 months. Yeah. So that's why I'm making several batches today. I'll put these in the freezer. You can put them in your fridge if you want to, but they only store for like a week. So you could put this in a can and put it in the fridge, or put it into a jar, put it in the fridge. But why? Why not just freeze it? And then you don't ever have to make, it again, and you don't have to go buy canned soup. So much better for you. And if you're dairy free, like, canned soup is brutal, and casseroles are brutal. This is super helpful. Okay, that's it, you guys. I'm going to go because I'm feeling, I don't know. I need to go catch my breath. So, and put this away. You guys all have a great week. And if you have not checked out that clam chowder, oh gosh, I need a nap. If you have not yet checked out the clam chowder, you need to do that, okay? This recipe will be up on the site probably next week, along with the Instapot version and the non-dairy version, and all the tips and tricks on how to freeze it properly will all be there. And if you're looking for those little guys that I just showed you, I'll have the link for that as well. Okay, bye guys. Have a great day. If I can push the button to hit the finish.